what a wonderful, wonderful film and tribute and retrospective. I work at TVO. There's probably a lot of people in this room who grew up with TVO kids or had children, or had children or grandchildren that grew up with TVO kids. And so we know a lot about creating lovable characters that can inspire curiosity and a love of learning, and also the importance of being a really good friend. And tonight, I'm just thrilled to death to welcome probably, well, the guy in the suit. He's probably the best friend a kid could ever have on the most revolutionary children's program ever. Please help me welcome Caroll Spinney. Sure, let me put that up there. Or I put it down here and I'll help you lift it up when we need to get there. Okay, well, most people can't imagine doing anything for 40 years.
It's 45 years.
Oh, is it 45? Oh my. This is the first time apparently you've seen this on the big screen with an audience.
Yes.
So, Bill, tell us what it was like to watch 40 years of your life go by.
Well,
45, sorry.
yeah. Well, it's incredible. I have a mic on.
Yeah.
And, I didn't know I was coming. But
Prepared?
I'm very humbled by it, and I think I'm a very fortunate guy. And particularly getting to be Big Bird was the second greatest thing that ever happened to me. You are a very lucky man, but you know what they say, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Yeah, that is true. But I am so satisfied with the film, but also with my life, in that I kind of thought when I was a kid, I didn't have a great time at school all the time. I had some great times. There were a lot of good people and wonderful teachers. But to plan to do things what I'm doing, I kind of planned it as a kid. I didn't know how it would unfold. And meeting Jim Henson, of course, was one of the great moments, because I could not have done it by myself. I always felt I was going to attach myself to somebody that would be what I needed to go where I wanted to go. I thought it was going to be Walt Disney. I was actually in the same room with him once. And another guy I liked so much was Andrew Wyeth, who I spent the afternoon with him once. And so I just wanted to be a painter, not that good as a painter. And but I think I wanted to be a puppeteer more than anything. I was just so fascinated that you could put something on your hand and tell a story with it. Mm-hmm. That's what I was impressed with when I was 5 when I first saw it. And I think that it was what I was supposed to do.
Do you think that when you were a child, there was some unhappiness in your childhood?
Yes, but in a way I may have, I did have a lot of wonderful time as a child. My mom was one of the greatest people. And she built me 12 different puppet shows. And I gave birthday party shows all around Boston. And put myself to art school that way, because my father didn't think I should go to art school. I was going to starve to death. And I didn't.
But by being...
You can see I haven't.
But was Big Bird a way of, for you to sort of continue that childhood and create a childhood that maybe you felt could have been better, or a childhood the way you would have wanted to have it?
I think other than my slight fear of my dad, although he was a good guy a lot of times, I just never knew when it was going to boom something would fall bad at me. But he never really did. It was just that one time, but that stuck with me, obviously. And I really had a good childhood, except that I got bullied a lot. And so when I did that script, they showed a little of Big Bird getting bullied. That was the subject 2 years ago of the year, really, with the kids' shows. Because bullying will probably always happen. And it was kind of spoiled a lot of days, because I wasn't able to, if you threw a ball at me, I'd duck or break my fingers and hit my hand. I couldn't catch it. So I was always playing left field when I was forced to play baseball. And I didn't learn to be a good team player, because I was never on any team until I could join the Muppets. And
when you think of
Frank explained what that part was.
When you think of cuddly creatures that a kid could love, I have to say I don't think Bird is the first thing that comes to mind. How did a Big Bird actually become the Big Bird?
Well, Jim's first concept, when he saw me doing my show, he'd gone to that puppet festival. The Puppeteers of America have a festival every year in different places around the country, and now they do it biannually. And he was scouting there to have somebody play Big Bird and Oscar. He offered it to Frank Oz, who was an incredible puppeteer, and a good friend to say nice things like he did in this film. And he was offered the chance to play Big Bird, but he had played Le Choy Dragon, which was a commercial. You'd have to be old enough to remember. It was a canned Chinese food, chop suey, which is not even Chinese food. It's really invented in America. But anyway, he was, oh, I am a Le Choy Dragon. And he would come in and he'd sweep his tail, he'd whip cabinets right out of the set, out of breakaway cabinets. Or another time, Frank had to be in it, and they actually put a real flamethrower in his hand. And he opened his mouth, he says, you want it hot? And big flames coming in. Then he burned up the set. I don't know how they got away without permission to do that. It was awesome. And Frank wasn't too happy in there. And Frank had joined him, tried to join him when he was only 14. And when Jim said, you go home, finish high school, come back and join me. He was immediately running. And Frank is just incredible. He loved Jim so much and took the heart out of it for him. So he directs movies now, and he still comes back every year and does a little puppetry.
Deb, if Caroll didn't tap into Big Bird, well, actually someone said in the film that had Caroll not tapped into Big Bird, that he would have been exactly the same kind of person. Do you think that? What do you think?
Put this up. I really think he would be the same person, because I think that Big Bird tapped into him almost, and that's his soul, so he just puts it out there.
If I hadn't had that job, I wouldn't have met you. She worked on Sesame Street.
We love Big Bird.
And I could never be who I am now without Deb. Make me a better man.
Good answer.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the film.
Sure.
Chad and Dave. You guys have worked together before. Your last feature was, I think it's Brown Stones and Red Dirt. Was that it?
Yeah, that's correct. Chad and our executive producer Clay, who's out there, and I got back together in I don't know, 2007 or something on a film, small film about kids in Brooklyn, New York that had pen pals in Sierra Leone that were war orphans. And we made that film, and we thought, hey, this is really fun. We should do it again. And I had interned at Sesame Street. And we were telling one of our friends who also is in the audience tonight, who happens to be related to Caroll and Deb, about the internship, and she said, oh, did you know, I'm sort of related to Caroll. And at that time, I didn't know that Caroll had been Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch. I didn't know he was still doing it. And so Chad and I started talking about it, and we told Clay, and we're like, hey, we should make this movie, thinking there's no way these two would ever say yes. And then we went in to pitch them, and they said yes.
Gladly.
It just felt right.
It's pretty surreal because, we're like, oh, Caroll, this would be great, let's make this movie together. And all of a sudden I turn around and there's Oscar, staring at me. And I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? And Carol's still, talking to Dave about something, and Oscar's there blinking and, checking me out. What is going on? It's pretty great.
The archival in this film was unbelievable. unbelievable. Did you have an amazing visual researcher? Did you get a good rate? I mean, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was Deb.
Yeah, Deb is unbelievable. In that very first meeting, Deb said to us, "Hey guys, if we decide to do this, just so you know, I've sort of videotaped everything we've ever done. Would you like to see it?" Like, yeah, sure. So the first box she drops off for us had the behind the scenes of the Muppet Family Christmas, which was like, I don't know if you guys know that special, but it basically was like, that's a good one. Every Muppet known to man is
They
in
made it in Toronto.
And so it's like Caroll, Jim, and Frank, and Jerry. It's just awesome. And so that was the first box of footage she gave us, and then it's like, they would do these things that they would set the camera up, the two of them would be out in the middle of nowhere, they'd set the camera up on a tripod, and then maybe walk away holding hands, like, and then give us a perfect cut. It was
I don't know how we knew.
It was literally like thousands of hours of material. Clay and I went up one time with 2 cars and opened their closet, just pulled out 8mm films and thousands of photos. It was awesome.
Did you guys forget anything you actually shot? Was there something that they dug up and decided to use?
I was hoping there was nothing that I didn't want to see. No, it didn't happen.
And the animation in the film, where did that come from? Was that Caroll, or was it?
So actually after, when Dave and I met, we met at an animation studio, Blue Sky Studios. We worked there for a little while. We met some amazing people. And one of them was Chris Zemesco, and he's an animator. And he did all of that. And it was always trying to be rooted back in the look and feel of animation from Sesame Street, you know, where like words would pop up above people's heads or numbers and things like that. So I think he did an amazing job.
And it was such a cool process because Caroll would do these conceptual drawings. So, especially of your first puppet show, we had no idea what that looked like. Caroll used to have this footage, but his car burnt up, and that whole film he made burnt up in that fire. And so we had no record of it. It's like one of the few things that he's had in his life.
I did that one show. It was basically a disaster. They threw that light on. I couldn't see the animation. I'm at a blank angle, and but it did the job. And then a week later, the car caught on fire and burned to the ground. And I didn't think of taking the film out of there. It was a year's work.
So yeah, so we had the animators base everything off of Caroll's sketches, which was awesome.
What I found very interesting in terms of how you developed the Big Bird character into what he became is that you realized that in order for Big Bird to work, that Big Bird had to be a child. And I'm wondering, what was the click in your mind that made you realize that's what Big Bird had to be?
Well, they were ready. At first, they didn't. Big Bird was just introduced, and they didn't know what he was. They'd never seen him, and he didn't exist 3 days before that. And so I was playing him for a while. I don't know how many weeks or months it was, maybe 2 months. But the writers caught on who he might be, and they wrote a scene where Big Bird saw some children going into a place, and he looked in them, and it was a child care place, and they were having fun with little toy scissors and making things, and he wanted to join them too. And I said, you know, it doesn't make sense that he's a big 8-foot goofy guy who wants to just go play with his kids if he's not a kid himself. I don't know if you'd want an 8-foot goofy guy. And so because Jim had described it, I said, what's he like? What should I play him like? He said, well, I've always wanted to make a silly, goofy bird. So I guess he's goofy. Maybe he talks like Mortimer Snurd. So he at first said, oh, well, here I am, Big Bird. And it sounded actually a little bit later on, I heard his voice again, he was a purple dinosaur.
Hard to imagine.
And I worked with the purple dinosaur, he was a nice guy. But anyway, I voiced that aloud. Of course, the producers were sitting in the control room with John Stone and doing great work. And I said, I think I should play him like a child from now on, but I'll take a week or two to lighten him up. So I'm talking like this. I'll talk a little higher and higher and higher. So hi, I'm Big Bird. That's where it came from.
And on the other end of the scale, you brought someone to join us this evening.
Oh, I have, yes. And he's Jimson. That's a useful one. Yes, a little crying during the movie. Something green here. What is
This
this?
is a real treat.
Can you believe a TV star rides in the overhead bin? I know there's a head in there somewhere. Leave me alone. There's no way for me to enter and make my entrance.
Where is he?
I hate you. Can't stand praise. Never thank a Grouch.
Well, I thank you for coming here, Oscar.
I told you, never thank a Grouch.
Oscar, what was it like sharing the street with Big Bird?
Well, he's a big turkey. Hey, I don't want to hear that. Where is it?
Right here. I am Big Bird.
Very clever, very clever.
Do you travel all the time, Oscar?
A lot, because I get to go a lot more places than the bird, because I couldn't go overhead bid. The bird requires about $1,000 just to get on the plane. And a helper who has to be paid, and trucking and all that stuff. Lucky me. I get to go, but I never see anything while traveling. It's a very dark bag. I can't even breathe in there.
You know, Oscar's like the, hold on, Oscar. Oscar is like the anti-hero to Big Bird in a way. I'm just sort of wondering, they're kind of like the yin and yang, and would there have been a different kind of Big Bird or a different kind of Oscar if they didn't have each other?
I guess they're pretty independent, really. They do run into, once in a while they're seen together. That's when we use another puppeteer with one of the things I love doing. It could be either one, but the one that I have most words with in that script, I will be doing. Often it's Matt, who's in the bird. And when we did the Journey to Ernie stuff, he did that green screen stuff. He said it almost killed me. Green screen is very tedious.
I know we have a lot of people who want to ask questions out there. Yeah.
I'm not going to say a word.
If you have questions, please put up your hand, and we're going to get to you as soon as possible with some microphones, and then we'll be asking questions. I don't mean to be picking on you, Oscar, at all. But if he was created today, that he may not have been approved. May not have been approved.
Well, I was thought the show was put on as an experimental show, and we still experiment always. It's still Mike and the big dog. For my son. It has to be here somewhere.
It has to be there somewhere.
I'm just getting this is happening.
Walker, I guess, is my kind
Oh, Oscar took it.
There we go.
It's on Oscar. What a grouch.
Put it back.
Oscar did it.
What?
Yeah.
I did it. I won't thank him because I'm a grouch. Besides, he ripped some of my fur out. I like that.
Do we have a microphone with anyone here for a question? Is that over there? Okay. Oh, up in the top? Sorry, up in the top.
Who is it? Speak up.
Oh, over there. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Hi. Can't say anything. It's bright lights.
What would you do if you had to, if Big Bird and Oscar were played in the same scene?
Well, I just mentioned a bit. Now with digital recording, it's really easy too. I'll record, if for instance, Big Bird is in the scene mostly, and Oscar's going to say things, I'll record Oscar's voice first. And then they'll be ready, so the puppeteer knows that Oscar's going to speak. And he's ready to answer Big Bird. I'll say, where are you going, Oscar? I'm going to the dump if it's none of your business. And the other puppeteer has to manipulate Oscar. Is that how they do it? Yes.
I'll give you another question down here.
Hello, Carol. I'm Mike, and hello, Oscar. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
I think I speak on behalf of everyone that we want to thank you and the cast of Sesame Street for 45 years of bringing pleasure into our lives. I'd just like to...
I hate praise.
I'd just like to ask, is there any one moment on the show that made you think to yourself, I am so proud to be a member of Sesame Street, and who are the musical composers on the show that you enjoyed working with the most?
Well, it's hard to say. We've had quite a few in the 45 years, as far as music composers, and I don't only meet some of them. One for a while, a man named Steve Lawrence did it. I thought he was Edie Gourmet's husband. It wasn't. Joe Raposo wrote some of the great songs. Jeff Moss, like, everyone makes mistakes, so why can't you? He wrote wonderful things about a child's life, and then he did. And Joe wrote very inspirational stuff all the way from "It's Not Easy Being Green," which Brian Henson asked me to sing at his memorial. You saw that. And Sam Pottle, he wrote wonderful things like "I Just Adore For the Number For Me," and he was very showbizy stuff. There was a lot of great singing. It's funny, Don, I've sung over 300 original songs on the show. I never thought, I don't even claim to be a singer. And I do have 2 Grammy honors and a couple gold records, but I think that's just... I don't think I really deserve it, because some truly real great singers have sung a lot and didn't get those. I was just in the right place at the right time.
We have a question over here.
My question is for Oscar. Oscar,
Oh, yeah.
I really relate to your personality.
Oh, hey, what are you doing after the show?
And I'm just wondering if it's not too personal.
Yeah. Nothing's really too personal.
Could I ask what was the origin of your grouchiness?
Well, let's see. I had a difficult childhood. My father was very... No, that was you. By the way, he was a great guy. He lived in 91 too, and I loved him after a while. I guess I'm just born a grouch, and I can't keep it up because, like, I put bricks underneath the sheet, the bed. That way, I never wake up on the right side of the bed. He tries to be as miserable as he can. Yeah, I love being miserable. It makes me very happy. But I don't like to be happy. Yeah, but they did that in the movie.
We have a question down here.
Yes. Hey. Turn it on.
I just wanted to say, I'm so excited to meet you. I've been watching Sesame Street since I was like 3. And I'm almost as old as the show itself. I'm 43 now, and I have a 10-year-old daughter. I just want to say, in the second night at the museum, when you charged out to be in the Farrell's Brothers Evil Gang, I felt bad for you and Darth Vader. I would have let you join the Evil Gang. I was going to start with one. I just wanted to say that.
That was fun. That was the second night in the museum with what's his name? Hank Azaria was the evil pharaoh in that one. And he was one of the most fun guys I ever got to work with, because he never stopped being hilarious. And he just loved fooling around. And we're sorry we did some things that they didn't roll film, but they were filming in 35 millimeter. It costs about $20 per every 10 seconds, probably, or more than that, probably. So they don't know video cameras around. But it was a lot of fun to do that movie, and I don't get to do movies very often. I liked it myself. And the guy who played Ivan the Terrible is Christopher Guest, and he didn't talk to anybody. Yeah, I really liked him.
So we have another question up there, up in the balcony.
Go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much. I just wanted to say I'm so honored to see this film. I grew up in China, and Big Bird in China was one of the films I saw before we went to Shanghai in the late 1980s. And I just wanted to thank you so much for your determination to get that film made because it really helped me while I was growing up there.
Oh, I'm
And,
so pleased.
yeah, it was so great. And I'm just wondering if that special, that 30th anniversary special has been released yet, how you could see it, and if you've been back to China since then.
Did they ever do that stuff?
No, it was all almost ready to go, and then it never happened.
Yeah, I think actually the event, it was actually an internal Sesame thing, so they did that. So we're hoping, we have a great bit where Caroll and Lisa sing the song from the film together now. Yeah, that you probably know, and we're hoping that will be on the DVD.
So she flew all the way to New York on her own Ewan to get here. And she's a remarkable person, and she learned to speak English after we were there because she wanted to be able to talk to us. But none of the letters we wrote
keep in
to
touch
her
on the
got
phone.
to her, and all the letters
Text.
she wrote to us never got here either. So, and so even though I met one of the high officials, and she said, I promise she'll get this one. She didn't. And we have a kind of a barrier between us and China, which is a shame, since I must say, there are some really heartfelt, nice folks who are just like, they like the same humor we do and everything. It was a great time there.
It was a really wonderfully moving scene in this film
Yes.
as well. What a wonderful full circle to come.
Yes.
We have another question, a little right over there, down that way. Yes. Or-
I'm nervous, actually. I'm a teacher, and I just wanted to say I came here to just feel inspired. I just kind of skimmed through HotDocs and came to this one. I'm right here. I've got big hair.
It's hard to see, it's dark out there for us.
I'll step forward. So I just wanted to say that your vulnerability and your transparency to talk about what you went through in childhood, I experienced years and years and years of bullying. I'm in my 30s now, and I'm sure everyone in this room has either seen or experienced to some extent what you were talking about. And I just think it's amazing that you took all that pain and sadness and kept connected to the inner child and created a beautiful, loving character that's touched the whole world. I feel so emotional. And I really value what you've done, and I think I could feel the whole audience feeling everything, and thank you for everything that you've done. I have a little present for you. I was kind of writing it in the back, so I just wanted to say thank you. And to both of you, you guys are amazing. Good team.
I think we have time for one more question up on the balcony.
Hi there, my name is Heather again. Like the previous speaker, really inspired by this documentary, and like everyone else here, I grew up watching Sesame Street. Two questions for the filmmakers. Can you tell us about the process from looking at all the footage that they had to filming all the interviews? How long of a process to put this film together? If you could talk to us about some of the challenges. And also for Caroll and his wife, was there anything that was left out of the film that you would have liked to see in the film?
Well, I'll just start in terms of the timeline. We first met Caroll and Deb in 2009, and what's it today, 2014, so it took a while. A lot of that was going through the footage. Chad, in addition to directing, also edited, and it was awesome because he put together these scenes and he used their footage in this new and awesome way. It was just a really cool process. Our whole journey was to try to capture them as we started to see them, and I think if we had turned the movie around in a year, I think it would be a really different movie. I think the time that we had to get to know them showed us what was important about Caroll and Deb and what made them who they are, and that's obviously what influenced Big Bird and Oscar. So I think in a way, despite looking at a calendar, it was awesome that it took that long.
I'm glad. Yeah.
And we left a lot out of the
I don't know what we're going to do without you in our lives.
We're not going anywhere.
Now we're just going to be best friends.
We truly love these guys.
But did we leave anything out that you guys?
Well, we just want, there was one scene, and maybe you could put it in, you're going to put stuff on the internet.
I'm sure he's heard this a million times. It was about my father. And he was a musician, and he wrote a beautiful lullaby for Big Bird to sing. And he came to Sesame Street and he played my dad was a piano player, and they had a beautiful white grand piano, and Daddy played, and Big Bird sang, "You can fly, little children."
You can fly, little children, you can fly. You can fly to the sky, little children, to the sky, to the sky. Your days are filled with dreams that float on air. It goes on.
Yeah, and it goes on. But it's really beautiful. Yeah, and I just think it's so special. And I guess what's the most poignant thing about it is 2 months later, my dad wasn't here anymore. So it's just so beautiful to see him smiling and Big Bird looking down at him. And I think you sang as good as you've ever done before. So it was so beautiful.
I love Gene, and he was just the most loving, kindest, gentlest man I've ever met. And
You'll see that somewhere else.
That's definitely on the DVD, don't worry about it.
Just before we wrap up, I just want to take an opportunity. As I said, we have a very big kids program at TVO Kids. We've been around for a long time, and we have our own sort of larger-than-life character here, Pokeroo. And we'd like to give this to you as a little souvenir. He's a mystical character who comes from a mystical land. We're not quite sure of his species or gender, but we do call him a him. And Pokeroo only shows up when you allow yourself to imagine. So we thought we'd be a good... All right then. But maybe in time you're okay with that. Hey, Oscar?
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Because it reminds me of a bunyip. They have a character like that in New Zealand. No, in Australia. And it's the character that only shows up once in a while, but is in so many fables in Australia, and we've dealt with it, but never met him. This is wonderful. I've never seen him. So I think this may be what the bunyip looks like.
Maybe they're from the same land. Thank you very much on behalf of everyone here in the audience. I know this